YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. As always, I just want to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to check out the latest video. The support has been appreciated so much more than you guys know, seriously. And you guys already know you're part of the, oh yeah, best damn community here on YouTube, without a doubt. So let's kick it off and say this scenario happens.
I told you so.
I know. I give Newmeyer a hard time. I just can't help myself sometimes. But what if, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm not predicting 100-ounce silver, so don't jump on me just yet, but what if silver were to hit $100 an ounce? First of all, have you thought about when you would liquidate? Do you have a number in mind, or do you just have plans to lean back and play the gold to silver ratio and trade up some silver for gold if that number hits right where you want it? These are all examples of having an exit strategy, and it's one that far too many stackers ignore. You have to have a plan for your metals and not just blindly stack away as you go. You need an end game. Now, that's not the gist of today's video, so let's get back to that $100 silver. What if it hits 100 and we've decided that's our end game? We're out. Every ounce must go. See you later. This is all hypothetical. Would we have a hard time unloading our silver if that time does arrive? Well, there are arguments saying it'll be easy and arguments saying good luck. So we're going to go over all that today. And that being said, you already know it.
Let's freaking roll it.
Alright, so let's say you've got a bunch of silver and spot price shoots to $100 an ounce like Keith Neumeyer's been calling for like, I don't know, forever. You think we'd have a hard time finding someone to pay that steep of a price when they could just wait for it to go down? If spot hits that $100 mark, couldn't LCSs just refuse to buy our stuff when we bring it to them? Or will we be able to get rid of it without a hitch despite the price spike? Well, let's look at some positives that kind of vibe with you not having an issue selling. And that is, when silver price spikes, a lot of times you're going to see some panic buying as that good old FOMO kicks in. We all know about FOMO. Happens every time silver spikes up in price. Now, at that point, coin shops could possibly have a hard time keeping supply in their stores because of all the new buyers. And they'll likely, in that scenario, be on the eager side to buy your silver off of you if the buyers are lined up out the door to buy silver from them. So this is a positive scenario for selling silver during a historic spike. A lot of folks are going to feel like they missed the boat and they're going to try to play catch up, metal speculators included. They'll put gold on hold for just a bit so they can stock up on silver. Now, another positive for selling during a spike. All right, here's another one. If for some reason you can't convince your LCS to buy your silver, well, you could always turn that into what I call the big box dealers like APMEX, JM Bullion, SD Bullion, yada, yada, yada. They're pretty much always in the market for buying. So if you turn from a silver stacker to a silver seller, you should have a couple of different options available to you if we have a major price spike. Just keep in mind those pesky little capital gains taxes when you cash in those checks. Anything over 10K is going to trigger an alert with the bank and concurrently with the IRS. So those are some positive outlooks for selling your silver during an historic price spike. But what are the negative issues we could run into? Well, the first one is the obvious. If you do find a buyer, you can't go into the deal just assuming you're going to get premiums, including the $100 spot price. Doesn't work like that. So if you paid $40 as an example for an Eagle, and the dealer's cut of that $40 was a $6 premium, you're not going to get that $100 spot plus a premium. It's not going to happen. Now, unless you have something insanely valuable, an ounce of silver will be an ounce of silver, with one difference. Eagles, Maples, Britannias, Libertads, whatnot, might possibly sell at spot or just under, but it's unlikely. Generics are another story altogether, as you're probably going to see a pretty good percentage back of spot, especially if the LCS has been raking in the silver and it's not turning over as quickly as they hoped it would. So you can't really go into a sale expecting anything but spot, or most likely under spot for your silver if it hits $100. Every dealer is going to have a different outlook, so it just depends who you're selling to, right? And here's another negative outlook. If an LCS buys up a bunch of silver at $100 spot and silver tanks, which history shows it hits a high, it drops down. Let's say it goes from 100 down to 40. The dealer's going to be a little less inclined to make many deals because of what they have into the supply, right? He bought a lot of silver. Now, some shops are big enough to roll with those punches by honoring whatever spot price is, regardless, but you're definitely going to run into some hard-nosed characters who aren't going to drop their price until they can find buyers at the elevated price, if they can find those buyers. Now, most stackers are pretty savvy. They're not going to buy $100 silver when spots already dropped back down to 40. Now, at that point, those hard-nosed dealers just end up dropping their prices, hoping that the money they made off the FOMO folks balances it all out.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
All right, so we're not exactly going into this kind of scenario blindly. We've had massive sell-offs before when silver spiked in price. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the Hunt Brothers fiasco in 1979, early 1980, that hiked silver all the way up to just a hair under $50 an ounce. But when it was all said and done, silver dropped down under $20 almost as quickly, if I recall correctly. Talk about an insane bounce. Now, you know it's bad. You know it's bad when Tiffany's Jewelers takes out a full-page ad condemning the Hunts for owning so much silver because it was jacking up their prices to sell their products to their customers. But there were folks lined up out the door of coin shops with people trying to get rid of their silver. Kids were cashing in silver from grandpa. Grandma was trying to sell her silverware. Adults from all backgrounds who'd been holding silver patiently waited in line for their turns. And while there were some issues in general, most sellers seemed to come out satisfied on their end. And I suspect the same would happen in another price spike silver sell-off. Say that 3 times fast. You might not get that $100 spot, but you're still going to make out considering, I would imagine everybody's DCA is likely way below that $100. I mean, come on, we're probably looking at DCAs. Most of us are looking at under probably 28 and under. So at that point, you're not worried about making spot or recovering premiums or all that stuff. It doesn't matter. $100, you're still making out. At that kind of price, everything's been covered to include the spreads. Now, again, you still have to keep those capital gains taxes in mind and factor that in as well, as it could be up to 28% of your earnings. Okay? But I'm not even going to get into all that again. I've actually done a few vids on capital gains if you want to take a look back at some of my older videos. All right. There you have it. So one more note on this topic. Some time ago, I asked my LCS as to how he'd react to $100 silver. Now, his answer? He'd still be a buyer. And I suspect many of the other shops around the area would as well. And like I said earlier, the big box stores will also gladly take your silver off your hands. Just maybe not at the spot price you were hoping for. So what are your thoughts on selling? And at what price point would you unload your silver or even a part of it? Do you think we'll have issues selling it if silver hits a $100 spot price? Be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking. You guys know I love going through them, so make sure you sound off. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Silver Gold Stack Attack. And if you made it this far, well, kudos to you. I'll definitely catch up with you in the next episode. But in the meantime, oh yeah, you know what's up.
What do you want to do with your life?
I want to stack.
Damn right. Get stacked. Stay safe and be well, everyone. I am out of here. Peace, folks.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Oh, yes. And what was that beginning, middle, and end part again?